Hello, everybody. How's it going today? Uh, as of right now, for most Seahawks fans, I'd say the answer to that question is probably not too well because of what just happened in the NFL. So, I'm a little late on this one. I arguably already kind of missed my flight here. This story has already kind of developed, happened, and the intrigue part of this story is already past. So, if you're watching this video, you already know how this story ended, basically. And it didn't end with the Seahawks improving their roster. But we got to talk about it anyway. We got to talk about why this might have happened or why this might have not happened. And we got to decide whether or not it was ultimately a good idea to let this opportunity go. So, earlier this morning, I wasn't available to make a video at this time anyway, but the Patriots announced that they were going to release cornerback Stephon Gilmore. They hadn't released him yet, obviously, but they said that if he was not traded by, I think, 1 o'clock today, he was going to be released. So immediately, as you can expect, for obvious reasons, 90% of Seahawks fans out there went, get him, 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 get him. Everybody was like, oh my God, you got to get him, get him. Get him at 1:01 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Do not give him an opportunity to go anywhere else. Everybody was just like, oh my God, we got to go, we got to go. Let's do this right now. And about an hour later, we learned that he was not getting released, and he in fact got traded for basically nothing. This is per Field Yates about an hour ago. The Panthers just traded for Patriots cornerback Stephon Gilmore for a 2023 sixth round pick. So, the way NFL teams typically look at things, a pick loses a round worth of value for each year you push it out. So they basically got Gilmore, did the Panthers, for a 2022 seventh round pick. So they basically got him for nothing. And this definitely angered a lot of Seahawks fans. And the reasons why are clear and obvious. So, with all that being said, let's talk about this. And I'm going to try to see it from both sides here. So, trading for Gilmore, acquiring him, the reasons why you do that as a Seahawk, as the Seahawks organization, are pretty obvious. We still have a need at cornerback. I don't know if Sidney Jones is going to be the answer. I'm willing to give him time. But the thing is, he could easily end up not being the solution. He was bad against the Niners. I'm sorry, guys. I know he did some things a little better than Trey did, but his numbers were worse than any game Trey Flowers has ever played, I think. So you're taking a chance there. You're hoping that he can improve, but if he doesn't improve, you're not much better off than you were with Trey Flowers. The only benefit there is that you've at least got DJ Reed playing on the side of the field that he likes. So that's good. But we very likely still had a need at cornerback. And Stephon Gilmore is good. Four-time Pro Bowler. He's only 31, and 31's old, but it's not at the age where you expect to completely fall off a cliff yet. He wasn't bad last year. He definitely fell off. He was one of the best defensive players in the league in 2019, and then in 2020, he definitely wasn't that, but he wasn't bad or anything. There was just clear signs of slippage. And there was also an opportunity to mix up your defense a little bit, because I was talking with Hawks Nest about this a couple weeks ago, and one thing he suggested was if you brought in Gilmore, you could have played man coverage on one side of the field with him because he's a man corner, and then the rest of your defense is zone. So basically, like, half your defense is playing man, half your defense is playing zone, and that would confuse opposing offenses. So you would be throwing a wrinkle at these offenses that you haven't really had before. And maybe that would allow you to play a more complex defense without sacrificing a whole bunch in terms of your players not understanding what they're supposed to be doing, because everybody except Gilmore would just be playing the typical zone defense. Maybe you do something like that. He was talking about a hybrid defense, and maybe you could have done that with Gilmore. And the final reason why it would have made sense to go after him in a trade, and why it kind of hurts to not get him, is it would have been cheap. The Panthers basically got him for free. This is basically a bag of peanuts. May as well have been a 7th-round pick. This is a 6th-round pick 2 years out. So they basically got him for nothing. So there are definitely reasons why not getting Gilmore this morning is unfortunate. But I have to come at this from a slightly different angle from a lot of people. And I've kind of poo-pooed the idea of getting Gilmore a couple times already. And there's a lot of stuff that needs to be talked about on the other side, I think. Why you don't want Gilmore. And here's my here are the main things that I have against this. Number one, is our defense creative enough to implement that hybrid man and zone defense? And maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. Maybe we would get Gilmore and just tell him to play cover three and tell him to just do the same stuff that we've always been doing with our cornerbacks, just stay in that cover three defense. Now, Gilmore is very talented, and maybe he could handle playing zone, but maybe he couldn't. Maybe he would just be another guy in a cover three defense. And if that's the case, maybe you're getting a small upgrade over somebody like a Sidney Jones or a Trey Flowers, but it might not be that significant. And I know we're not going to just suddenly change our whole defense to a man look. I know we weren't suddenly going to transform our defense into 100% man. So those were the options. Either you adopt that hybrid man zone, or you just have Gilmore play zone. And there are a lot of maybes there. Maybe he can play zone, but maybe he can't. There's another angle to look at this from as well. Yes, you only had to give up that pick to get Gilmore, but Gilmore supposedly wants a new contract that will give him $15 million a year. So he wants to be paid not as much as somebody like a Jalen Ramsey, but not that far away from a Jalen Ramsey. So not only do you have to trade for him, and the trade is not significant, but the money is. $15 million a year long term, that's a problem, especially for a guy who is 31 years old, clearly past his prime, and is coming off a pretty significant injury last year, and is at least allegedly injured as of right now. So yes, we could have afforded it. That's the first thing people are going to say. We had the money. Yeah, we had the money. But that doesn't mean, just because you have the money doesn't mean you want to spend it on somebody if you're not sure they're going to actually improve your team that much. So it's not just about the draft pick, it's about the money. And not just the money this year, because if it was just a 1-year deal, then I wouldn't care. But he probably wants a long-term contract that takes him through to the end of his career. And that would have been a significant weight on the cap that is already... I mean, you could have afforded it in theory, but what do you lose in the process? You lose something. But the biggest problem I had with the idea of trading for Gilmore, this is my biggest concern with that idea, and why I'm not really that unhappy. And I'll admit, if we had traded for him, I would have been like, okay, we clearly got at least a little better on defense. This helps us at a position of a weakness. Okay, I would have been like, yeah, let's go. I'll worry about the money later. I'll worry about all that stuff later. We got more talented. I would have acknowledged that, and I would have been like, okay, let's see if this helps us. And it would have been exciting to some degree. But here's my thing. Bill Belichick doesn't think he's worth it. Bill Belichick doesn't think he's worth the money he wants. He is so sure that Gilmore is not worth the money he wants that he's willing to basically give him away rather than pay him. And that is a Patriots team that is looking like they're going to be pretty bad this year. They are 1-3. I'm not seeing a whole heck of a lot positive with that Patriots team right now. They look like they're going. I mean, I guess they're not in a great division, but they're looking like they're going to get left behind a little bit this year. And I know Belichick's job is safe for as long as he wants it, but he's got this team that clearly needs talent, that clearly is struggling, that clearly isn't that good, that clearly could use some help at cornerback to the point where, I mean, they have a rookie quarterback, they have all these problems, and he's deciding, I would rather give this guy away than pay him. And when Bill Belichick says somebody is not worth it, I'm inclined to believe that they're not worth it. This isn't like Jacksonville, where they said C.J. Henderson wasn't worth it. Now, there are a couple reasons why they may have decided that. One of them is they cleaned house last year, and they brought in a whole new regime. And that new regime might look at a guy like C.J. Henderson and say, I don't think he's bad, but he doesn't fit what we're trying to do. So they might get rid of him for that reason. So I'm looking at that and go, hey, maybe that's an opportunity to get a really good player that Urban Meyer and the new regime in Jacksonville just didn't think fit their plans. And also, beyond just that, the Jacksonville franchise is kind of known for their incompetency lately. They really haven't been a good team outside of 1 year where they had that great defense in some time. So they look at a player and say he's not worth it. I'm inclined to believe they might just be wrong. Bill Belichick usually doesn't get things wrong like that. So I look at that and I go, okay, Bill says he's not worth it. Bill gave him away. That probably means he's not worth it. That probably means there's either he's old or he's overrated or the injuries got him or whatever. He's not worth what he wants. So why would I want to be the team that gives him that? So I understand the frustration this morning. I know some people are going to be bringing out the pitchforks and torches. And to a certain extent, I can even agree a little bit because he would have made your team better, almost certainly. He's certainly better than Trey Flowers or Sidney Jones. Probably better than DJ Reed. Probably your best cornerback if you got him. But there were a lot of red flags here. And at the end of the day, I'm not mad that we didn't get him. He could have been a salary cap albatross going forward in future years. And at a certain point, that stuff does start to matter. At a certain point, you do have to start losing something if you want to gain something. And next offseason, we're going to be paying DK Metcalf. We might be on the market for a left tackle. Might be on the market for a quality center. And at a certain point, you do have to say, okay, if we bring in Gilmore, we're going to be losing something in the future. And he would have helped us some this year. And if I believed that Gilmore was going to help us a lot this year, I would have done it and dealt with the consequences later. But there were too many concerns for me to be really gung-ho about going to get him. So, little late, but those are my thoughts. I just can't get that upset about it at the end of the day. The big thing for me, really, though, is that Belichick knows what's up most of the time. If Belichick says this guy isn't worth what he wants, then I'm inclined to believe that he's probably not. And props to the Panthers. They are swinging for the fences right now, but I can't be too mad about this one. The C.J. Henderson thing, yeah. But this one, I'm going to just go ahead and leave the bat on my shoulder on this one and not feel too badly about it. All right, see you guys later. More videos coming later today. Go Hawks. We got bigger things to worry about right now with this game against the Rams. Let me know what you think down below. I'm out.